Hello. All right, as we get started, this session is going to be around building cooperation and community through agriculture, agroecology, and climate initiatives. And so this session will be broken up into two sessions. The first presenter is going to be Carrie Jr. with SEMPA Farms out of Detroit. And his session is going to be on cultivating cooperation through agriculture and local food systems. So, Carrie Jr., the mic is yours.
Good morning, everyone. First, I got to say I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share some of the work we're trying to do with SEMPA and thank ACE again for this opportunity to come here to present before you all. But pretty much, again, the title of the presentation is Cultivating Cooperation Through Agriculture and Local Food Systems. After attending the event last year in Puerto Rico, I thought maybe I would try to make a contribution to ACE, and that's one reason I guess why they allowed me to be here. Anyway, all right, where do we start? Okay, just a little bit about who SEMPA is. We are actually a Southeast Michigan Producers Association. We didn't want to use the name Detroit because everybody else is Detroit, but plus we also cover the region, and we're not actually in Detroit. And what we are is a rural Black farming cooperative that are attempting to provide fresh produce to food insecure neighborhoods and communities, rural and urban, while improving the viability of our members' operation of small farms. We intend to improve the healthy food access through farm stands, storefronts, restaurants, food trucks, and other markets while servicing large institutions when possible in the area of Detroit. Yeah, excuse me. And again, the strategy we're using is from producer training, rural and urban farm collaboration, community education and awareness, and food and ag entrepreneurial opportunities. Now, to give you an idea of how we started, it roughly started with a bunch of rural farmers. I got into stuff doing work in farmers markets, and then people would ask me, inquiring, how was I sourcing my food? And was I using, because we're in a Black community, was I using Black farmers? Now, of course, I'm from the South, and I'm thinking, I didn't really think there were any Black farmers in Michigan. Well, some colleagues and I, we did some research, and we went to a meeting, and there were like 40 Black farmers rural farmers in this area. And we were trying to figure out, wow, where they come from. So we tried our best to try to source from them. But again, there was the issue of trying to figure out how to work things out, how to get products, how to get them. We couldn't get it to go there. We couldn't get it to happen. And there was an organization that preceded us, Michigan Coalition of Black Farmers, that were trying to also organize these farms. Well, anyway, long story short, SEMPA came about because the Michigan Coalition of Black Farmers, they sort of, I won't say they gave up, but the gentleman who was over was getting older and tired. And to some extent, I'll say he kind of passed the reign over, but we had to kind of revive ourselves. But anyway, we started off with, I said, those 40 producers, 1,200 acres, with the emphasis on fruits and vegetables. Now, keep in mind, I say 40 producers, but when it came down to trying to organize, nobody really wanted to be involved because, again, they thought I was part of the previous organization, and because of the way some things went there, it's the whole thing of trust. But I was fortunate enough to get 7 to say, okay, we can organize. And so that's how we came about. But then on the other hand, as you know, food access and food insecurity has become a big issue in Detroit. So we were looking at that, and actually we knew a whole lot more enthusiastic urban farmers that wanted to do something as well. But again, they were motivated to do the work. And again, they were doing all the proper practices because they were being trained, and I'll get into that in a minute. But they didn't have access to land. And then they couldn't meet the capacity. So my whole idea is to try to combine those two efforts. On one end, you had people who had land, and they were getting older. And by the way, the average age, as I mentioned, of the SEMPA farms right now, about 72 years old. So most of them are not farming, producing on their land. And what we're trying to do is keep their land in production. Whereas on the urban side, we got them anywhere between 18 to 40. And they're enthusiastic about trying to do farming. But again, they're trying to get access so they could do their own stuff. So the whole idea is just trying to get them to work together. I just put this map to give you a rough idea of where we're located. I don't know if you see a little yellow star down the bottom. That's where SEMPA's headquarters is, and we're actually between Detroit and Ann Arbor, and the rural farms are pretty much scattered inside the city of Detroit. But just to give you some guys a geographical idea of where we're located. And by the way, I think where that pink is where our airport is. I put this map in just to give you some indication. This was a food insecurity map in Detroit, and the white and the green areas where they pretty much kind of say where there's a issue of food access. And these were the areas where we have some of our urban farms, but these are the areas that we were targeting, particularly our rural farmers who want to put up farm stands, we're looking to try to set up. Now, to back up on all this stuff, I put this map in to show you these are all the corporations in the world that control the food economy. There are 10 corporations, 5 of them in the US, the other 5 in Europe. But these are the people, if you go in any grocery store, you look at all your brands, you should see most of them up here. Yeah, but they pretty much control our food economy. A lot of people know what this 10. What is it? I forgot, $1.4 trillion economy. And then of that group, yeah, these are the people that actually control almost, you say, the whole value chain. Well, I say 5 trillion, that's what it was. In the US is 840 billion. And what we kind of determine roughly that the average individual spends at least $530 a month, whether it's you're buying groceries, you're going to McDonald's or any type of food thing. This is what we say what the typical person spends. And we know roughly the Detroit area is close to that a little bit more. And these are the people who pretty much are capturing that money, which again we call our food economy. I'm sure you also recognize a lot of those brands. But and these are the people actually, this is the complex that control the value chain. So these are the ones who are producing and processing. And again, I know I'm talking to the choir in most cases, but I mean, you said these are the people that control the food economy. But when you think about who's buying the food, it's the little person, it's the small person, it's the poor person, it's a person with moderate income. But all of us are contributing to this system right here. Then, in a sense, in our opinion, does not necessarily come right back to the communities for which they should be serving. So what we're doing, we just took the same philosophy they're doing. We try to create our own small farm local food system. It's the same process you saw before. The 3 key areas of production, whether rural or urban. The food hub that does all the processing and packing distribution, and then the end users, which is really the key. Those are the people who are spending the money back into our economy that creates a food economy that we're saying a lot of us are missing. Even though they're contributing going in, but they're not benefiting from it on the outside, coming back out. Okay, SEMPA now, this is as we try to put our whole system, how we put the system together, we have SEMPA, right, who I just explained to you was our rural farm cooperative. But in the process of doing that, I need to collaborate with partners. And so in essence, we have SEMPA was a cooperative farmers. Now I created this collaborative, I'm gonna call it cooperative of organizations that assisted me with this help of getting this food system together. When We Love to Grow was a young lady, and she really should have been here. She's like the #2 person when we at SEMPA. She's technically the first urban farm manager in Detroit. But in the last 10, 12 years, she's been actually training people in urban farming, targeted the poor, maybe returning citizens, that sort. She's been training for the last 12 years, people who do farming, urban farming in the city of Detroit. And she's a well-respected person in the community. And I needed somebody like that on my team as we talked about doing things on the urban side. Urban Farm Development Managers actually is a student from the young lady who taught the other. He was one of her students who got out and started to do his own farm consulting work, trying to help urban farmers, because now he's like the soil expert. Another person I was trying to get engaged with this kind of stuff, but he's the guy that said, I don't want to do conferences. I want to be out on the farm. Whatever you need, just let me know what we need, but keep me on the farm. So he's the guy that's assigned for all the farms in our cooperative. He sort of oversees the work. That helps us assess what we need to do, He looks at the soil, he consults what we should grow, he try to give a projection. So I rely on him for that part. So we sound like we're like a big organization, but really aren't. But he also has his own firm. So everybody here has their own entity, but we've collaborated together to try to create this network with SEMPA. And then lastly, urban youth agriculture is actually, he's a student of the gentleman from the Urban Farm Development Managers. And what he does, he has 4 or 5 farm gardens at early childhood centers where children are learning about education, about food, they learn about farming, and and I think they grow some of the stuff and they actually eat it themselves. So as you can see, I'm really excited to have this group of people work with me as a team. And I got one more who just decided to come along. That she's going to bring on more of an administrative part. That she also is a student of one of the people up here as well. So again, as I talk about trying to put together a team, try to create a cooperative and create a cooperative that works in the food system space, there's a lot of stuff to go on, but you really need a team to do that. Now, this is what we do typically right now. Monthly, we give workshops on all these different topics because we're doing outreach, trying to get people interested who's not already part of our little network, who are interested in getting involved. But these are things we try to educate them on. I won't go into all those, but if you see those, that's, and of course, and I'm the person always pushing, going to conferences because you need to meet people as you go along the way, and you find out there are other people who have a lot of similarities that you have, to get you a little more enthusiastic about what you're doing. Because everybody knows being a farmer, or in that case, we do farmer and food entrepreneur, is not easy. And most people look at farming, even our older gentlemen look at farming as a hobby, because most of them, keep in mind, when they came up north, they came to work in the plants, they came to work for the government. So they had jobs and they retired from that, but they've always stayed on the farms. So the income issue was not so much a problem with them, but anybody who's trying to do farming 100%, there's always been a problem here in the U.S., especially a person of color. Now, these are the farms currently right now that we're working with in our collaborative network. You see 4 of them are rural. 4 of them are urban and 5 of them are rural. And these are ones that we've been trying to test and grow products on. We've had to lease on the rural side. We've had to lease them from some of the owners because, unfortunately, as I mentioned before, of the 7 board members we had, 3 of them have passed away. And then, of course, we're trying to prevent the family members from selling the farm. Unfortunately, we lost one of the farms, but we were leasing land on a couple of the farms. Because they understand this whole time, trying to keep the land in production. Like most people, the children, they're off the farms, they're working in the cities, they want to become rap stars or attorneys. So they haven't really realized the significance of coming back, into the farm. So anyway, so these are the ones we're working with. Bandy's Ranch, you see at the bottom, is actually a rescue horse farm. A gentleman from the east side of Detroit that grew up on the streets. Somehow he was exposed to one of his uncles who had a horse ranch. So now he decided to take that horse ranch over, and he has a couple of his colleagues from the city that comes out in the rural area. They take care of these horses. They bring the horses to the city of Detroit and maybe do horse rides, and they also have kids come out to their ranch to see. So they're part of our team as well, because we're trying to help them take advantage of a lot of programs for those horses, for their horse ranch. Now, again, as we look at, I see all these farms as part of our cooperative. Now, going back, now we talk about the local food system. This is how we envision. This is the master plan in my head. Is what we say. If you're going to create a local food system or value chain, these are the pieces you have to have. And I kind of show. It's really the same thing you saw before. I just kind of broke it down. Rural, urban. You got the food hub, and then you have the buyers and end user, which is key because you need those buyers and end users to buy your product in order to be able to keep your capacity going from the production side. Now, also, when you look at those boxes, not only look at them as different entities, I look at those as cooperative potential. Now, if they're existing restaurants, food service people, that's fine. We will get contracts with them because from a business standpoint, you still have to make money so you can make revenue so you can make things work. But on the other hand, in some of the cases, what we plan on doing in some of the neighborhoods, when I showed you those insecure neighborhoods, we're going to take the lead and try to create small produce market, micro marketing, just selling produce and small items, not trying to do the grocery store thing. And in the essence of doing that, we want to create those stores. We want to hire people to work in them with the idea of converting those eventually to worker cooperatives. You know, there's small worker cooperatives that are part of our network. And at the same time, as we educate people on how these pieces work, they see the significance of what it is to work together and collaborate. That they also realize then how we're now infusing money back into our economy from the food side. But this is like, and I call this the master plan. Whenever I think about value chain, this is the thing we're talking about doing. Even including, if you see it on the bottom of food, the food waste, where we take food that's not, that doesn't get sold, composted, turn around, create the soil, take the soil back to our farms and work them on the farms that we have. Again, this pretty much the same chain you saw, just nice colorful picture, so I won't bore you too much. But it's these, again, these are the things that we're in the process of trying to put the full thing together. And like I said, in truth, we got the components, but we don't have a lot of the stuff tied in place like we want to do. And it's just like everybody else, you need resources to really get it going. So, but these are the things that we're trying to create. This is the food chain that I tell people that we can have in our community. It's just a matter of getting everybody to work together. Now, what this page is, if you remember the chart with the boxes, these are the opportunities that are being created once you create those entities. These are the jobs, or I call it entrepreneur opportunities that can be created once this food value chain is put in place. And like I said, either they become a worker, employee type, a worker type thing, or it can be an entrepreneur, or it can become a worker thing that eventually they could be converted to a worker cooperative type situation. So again, when I look at the great master chart, I look at what these opportunities can bring. And this is what I try to get people to understand, if we do this thing right, we can provide opportunities for our communities that we don't have. We can provide, again, an economic engine that's always been there, but we just been extracting things out the community. And that's what, again, it's a matter of education. What is it? Again, these are the challenges, and I guess I'll kind of talk about it that we've had, because we can talk about the good stuff and how in theory it wouldn't work. But these are challenges we have, and I think in general, when it comes to trying to create a value chain, trying to create a cooperative, I have single entity operation risk. That means if you're a cooperative is supposed to be made of 2 or 3 different people or 2 or 3 different entities. And a lot of times people, when they come in, you have to make sure they have an understanding of what you're doing. I mean, they have to be all in. Everybody has to be all in. If not, it's going to be a challenge. But more than, I guess, as you create your entities, and like I mentioned, and I didn't mention before with us, labor is a big issue that we have in general across the board, whether it's one of the farms or just trying to get some stuff done. But these are the things you have to, as a single entity, you have to be considerate of: your resources, your labor, your revenue, competition, and trust. Again, trying to get people to work together in cooperative. That's the first thing you're trying to figure out what somebody else is getting and they aren't getting. When actually trying to say you have to be in there together, make sure that everybody you can achieve the best when you sit there together and work on it. And don't worry about what somebody's not getting, what somebody has and you don't have. Again, generational, cultural, and regional differences. I mean, whether you're, again, I have an issue with the urban and rural because somehow that, there's difference. People think because one's different from the other, that there's a problem. Really, it isn't. They can actually work together. Generational, again, like I said, I have farmers that are 70, 80 years old, and I have farmers that are, in their 20s. The farmers that are 70, 80 years old, when I come in and try to talk to them about stuff, the first thing I hear is, "You can't tell me how to farm. I've been doing this for 40 years and blah, blah, blah." But I said, okay, I get it. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your farming, but I'm saying, but if you want to contribute in this system, food system, there are certain things you're gonna have to follow, and you have to be consistent with everybody else. But I'm used to it now. After about dealing with this for 12 years. So, and then we have the cultural differences. Anyway, value chain vulnerability. I showed you the boxes. If something falls apart in that thing, it's going to screw up everything for everybody else. And you have to be assured that you're not going to have a major problem, especially something major like a food hub or distribution. Everybody has to be on point. Everybody has to understand what their role is and how important it is for them to be there. Food system financial resources. I don't think I'd tell you about that. Nobody's plopping a lot of money what we're doing, but we're getting billions of dollars to all these big corporations to do stuff. but you only give us $1 million, and we can probably have a much greater impact in our communities with $1 million than 20 million, 30 million you give it to the other corporate. We won't go. So, fear of submitting to others' ideas. Again, that's the same thing of just having people working and wondering whether or not their ideas are going to be taken over. If somebody decides to do something that you don't want to do, now you can take an attitude about it. You want to back off and not be encouraged to work in the group. You know, these are the kind of things that it's all psychological too. You know, there's been all kinds of trauma going on, but we're trying to work beyond it. And then the last one is failures are easier received than successes. Somebody can do something wrong, as you know, that'll get out faster in the community and spread among folks than something that's done real well. You know, and we have to figure out how do we change that. But the biggest thing of all is, I think, is until we're able to actually put things in place and people will believe what they see. When you implement whatever needs to get done and you get it in place and it starts to move, then that's when I think people will be more comfortable. You know, trust has always been a problem just based on how things are going in our history, but we just hope they get better. Now, I'm fortunate, these are, I'm calling them partners that I'm working with and we are in discussion with. C2BE is the Center for Community-Based Enterprises. They're established in Detroit to actually help form or convert cooperatives. I think Steve Dove knows about it. And I just so happen we have to have offices right across the village, so we talk all the time. SEMPA is one of their clients, but because we already established as a rural farmer cooperative, that piece, we're not necessarily working with them. But as we talk about trying to create those entities in the city, those mini markets, that's when we're definitely get them involved. Also, because of some of the work that we're trying to do across the state of Michigan, I'm trying to see if we can get them involved as well. With their charter only tells them they can only work in the city of Detroit, but they're looking to see if they can do work outside of that, because that's a great opportunity there. Farmers on the Move is the only Latino farm cooperative in Michigan. Official one. We're the only official Black farmer cooperative in Michigan. Farmers on the Move is the only Latino farmer cooperative in Michigan. We're trying to work together and collaborate on a lot of projects. They do a lot more in the fruit area, you know, where we do more stuff on the greens and other specialty crop area. But there's some opportunities, and they're located on the west side of the state. There's some opportunities that we've been talking for the last few years that we can work together. They want to get into the Detroit market, so we're going to help them do that. The few times they try to bring product there, we would store it for them as they try to sell it for a couple of days, that type of thing. But we want that partnership to get even greater. Michigan Farmers Union, again, they offer a lot of resources. That's why I was excited when I saw the North Dakota Farmers Union guys here. They're the big guys compared to what we're doing. But I found the Farmers Union to take us, welcome us, open doors, and a lot of our members now have had a chance to take advantage of a lot of resources for their farms, and we hope to do a whole lot more there as we talk about doing cooperatives and stuff. When we had the discussion about helping create cooperatives and work with farmers across the state of Michigan, that lit their ears up and they say, yeah, let's see what we can do. So I'm looking forward to that. The Intertribal Agricultural Council, of course, that's the council, and they have 14 tribes in Michigan. And what we're trying to do is not only create food systems for ourselves, but we want to assist them as well in what they're doing. Their unique situation is they have 14 tribes, all of them located in North Michigan, and most of them up in the, what you call the UP. But their largest population is in the city of Detroit. So the thing is, how do they grow their cultural appropriate foods, and how do they get it to the people? I mean, they have just greater challenges we have. And I've been fortunate that they've allowed me to present at their regional conference and their national conference. So I'm hoping to establish a greater relationship so we can actually work together. We talk about doing food systems throughout Michigan. Yeah, I'll just show you a map. Again, this is showing you the map, and I showed you the UP. It's the brown are the co-ops, that's the Farmers on the Move and ourselves. There's a proposed co-op working with small white farmers up in the north area that we talked with. And then you see up north in UP, we were talking, that's at one of the tribal schools. They're going to assist us in trying to help us collaborate and get the nation's farmers up in that area in some kind of organization. And again, like I said, most of the population down in the city of Detroit. All the yellow stars you see are where we want to propose a market. Once we establish our system in Detroit, All the yellow stars are cities with large minority populations, again, large minority populations, but all of them are all food insecure. So I think if we can get our thing established, what we're doing in Detroit, we want to be able to service those areas. We want to be able to serve, and where possible, we want to create cooperatives in those areas as well. Again, I just showed it to get reemphasize the fact that this is the focus. You got to put the food system together first. You got to establish how you can put it in place. Then once you put them in place, you figure out how you can create cooperatives. I really believe in our situation, we have to establish the organizations first and then convert them, transition them to worker cooperatives. The auspice, and again, when I work with, I didn't put it up too. There's an entity called Community Wealth Fund. We're actually funded by the Seed Commons, and I was on their board recently on their board, and they're pretty much just to fund startup money for cooperatives in the Detroit area. And of course, I was pushing a lot of the people I know on the food side to get engaged with them. But again, like I said, the whole issue, they're starting a lot. They're challenging. They're starting a lot of co-ops with their funding, but they're having a lot of problems. They're not holding together. That's where I'm saying the key thing is to get them started first as the organization, get people used to working with each other. Then you convert them to a cooperative. I think to me, that's the best way to work, particularly in our community. And then I can't read because I said objectives. Okay, our objectives overall is to continue building local food value chain, which I just shared with you. Continue promoting collective entrepreneurship. Again, emphasize people, yeah, you can be your own boss, you can be an entrepreneur, understanding when these goes on, but you still need to be able to work with other entrepreneurs to be able to make things work. Thus, you creating cooperatives. I said we're in the process of building a small farmer of color Midwest Farm and Food Network. Again, I show you what we're doing in Detroit. Then what I did is take that idea and go across the Midwest region, and then hopefully connect it with farmers down the south. Then we'll continue to establish relationship with smaller farm cooperatives in the Caribbean and Africa. I've had the opportunity to do some presentations to go visit different people and finding out the same challenge that we have here, everybody else is having the same place. So again, I think is we want to work with people and figure out where they are. If we can provide a resource and we can provide some technical assistance to help them to do what they want to do, we want to be there to do it. And
we have to point it that way.
oh, I do? Oh. I think I'm the last page.
It's me, I'm the problem.
Oh, you cut it off?
Every time I come in, it starts being not ready.
I'm trying to keep everybody still awake.
Maybe click back on the PowerPoint because we just closed. Okay. Not moving anymore.
Okay. That was the last page, and I'll just leave you guys with my two favorite quotes that I use all the time as I talk to our people. You give a man a fish, and you will feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish, and you will feed him for a lifetime. That's where we tell our farmers, it's all about learning out what you need to do, and of course dealing with the whole corporate system, America, our structure. Allow us to be able to build for ourselves. Give us the resources that we can do ourselves, that we can make things better for ourselves. And then last one, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. So anyway, with that being said, I think I'm done now. But anyway.
You want to take some questions? Any questions for Carrie before we move on into the next presentation?
Right. Yes.
I was just wondering, if you know what the average size of those urban gardens are?
Well, those are dictated by the parcels. So they're typically on one parcel. We have some that are made on 3. There's some farmers that are trying to, some of them get land and they're trying to get more land, but we run into a lot of politics in the city of Detroit. What we're trying to do now, we're trying to support some of them and try to get, a lot. If we get 2 or 3 guys per people together and try to go and get lots, so we can get help them get a larger area. But typically, you have the one parcel, one parcel or 2, one right next to the house, which is what 120 by 50, 40, 50. But then if they really start expanding, start growing, then they may try to get another lot or so. You know, and there's also, we try to encourage them because there are people who have done it. I haven't seen it yet, but there's a book out there. You can make $100,000 on a on one lot in the city, growing vertically and things of that sort. So we encourage several people to keep doing it. If you really want to grow, there's still some opportunity. But our real theory is we want you to grow, get excited about it instead of doing one parcel. Now you want to go out and do 10 acres. So then we can have you come out and work with our rural farmers, or either on their land or lease their land to grow out there. Oh, I'm sorry.
You talked about the tribal farms.
Yes.
Cultivating appropriate foods. Do you have also some rural farmers in that are growing?
Not yet, not yet. That is one of the things that we're talking about trying to do. And actually, we say culturally appropriate. We have, because we have, of course, like everywhere else, Detroit is pretty diverse. We have people from different parts of those who become part of our organization, whatever they want to grow, we want to assist them. Now we do have like our key farm, we have one pilot thing he's growing, we call it, I guess, Scotch bonnet peppers, which is very, I guess, popular with the Jamaicans, and they maybe some African communities. So he's testing and he's actually done some of that, but we're trying to look at different other types of products too that we know that are culturally appropriate, not only with our community, but like I say, communities I mentioned, like in the Caribbean, Africa. Well, anybody who wants to come there, we have a large Middle Eastern community too in our area. So there are certain projects, things we're looking at just to see what we can do to meet that. Now, I really wish we're pretty much specialty crops. And we would love to get on the livestock side because right now, a goat and sheep would be a huge, huge opportunity in our area. But we aren't ready for that yet. Sorry.
I was going to mention, all of us today are in Washington County, North Dakota. In Washington County, if you took all of the agricultural production in each county, it's #1 in dairy. It's way up there in grains. And all of the millions and millions of dollars of commodities that are exported, its consumption of finished food products is greater. It's greater than all the exports. It's hard to imagine. So when you transition from commodity production to food production, you have a market that's already here.
Yes.
And that's true in Detroit, that's true in Bismarck. And for many, many years, I'm not picking on the extension service, but the extension service would teach you how to sell your calves on time. That's not where the money is. The money is selling beef. And how do you get there? And this thing that you're talking about, it absolutely requires cooperation. You have to stop selling commodities at the lowest price, and you have to sell food at a fair price. And with your model, I think that's a perfect model. You can do that competitively against commercial producers now. For example, North Dakota imports most of the eggs we consume, 1 million eggs in North Dakota we get graded off old eggs from Minnesota. Well, egg production is simple. Small farms can produce eggs. And competitively and sell them to local markets. They don't because people don't think it through and have a common marketing strategy. So if you had a brand name egg like Ocean Spray does with cranberries and it's farmer owned, it can be 15, 20 different producers selling their own brand name eggs. Those opportunities are all over the place. We just have
well, it's a mindset change. This thing is people always say bigger is better. And because now our policies pretty much follow as well. So all the money goes in those directions. I mean, and they will subsidize a commodity person before they think about even just giving a small amount of money to somebody to actually growing food for ourselves. I thought the whole idea with COVID, because I was telling somebody I got during COVID was the perfect, I think, to let people realize we need to be kind of growing all stuff locally, the foods and stuff that we eat every day. And you say we have the people to do it. 60 years ago, at least in our community, that's what they were doing, But I'm saying, but now we've changed, and again, this, I hate to use terms, this greed, this whole, I just look at the money part, instead of looking at conservation and healthy living, a healthy lifestyle. And again, like I said, the economy that we can make from the food that we create, it will sustain us. It will sustain us. May not make you wealthy, but it will sustain us. But we have to get off of this whole corporate mindset that you have to be a extra super large 10,000 acres to be able to survive as a farmer. Whereas that small person, even an urban farmer, as I mentioned before, if he can make $100,000 on his, if he can make even $50,000 on his little lot in the city, selling produce that he can reproduce 3 times on his lot, that'll work. That's fine. That'll work. But see, but we have to keep emphasizing that, and that's the whole idea. We're just trying to demonstrate that we can do this thing. And the other part of it is not so much just the food itself, but the economic piece. One issue I tell people, all these brands, they never talk about how you taking this funding to create entrepreneurs to be self-sustained. They never do that. They tell you about how it's supposed to be done to help you get whatever project you're doing done. In a lot of cases, those projects don't even work because they're not, to me, they're not induced or directed, in my opinion, to allow the people who you're trying to serve make the decision on how it should be spent so they can make sure they can benefit from the product. I don't know about this. Yeah. Yes. He gonna kick me out, man. He gonna throw me out here now. He's gonna try to kick me out. I'm sorry.
That occurs to me that. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, that's right. I get it.
Doesn't distract the room if you're not ready to actually begin. Okay, so I just wanted to give you thanks and to say that it occurred to me what you're doing is actually one phrase, your top favorite quote, which is engage a community in stewarding the ecosystem of fishing. And you feed generations. And I think that that's a lot of what we do in co-ops. It occurs to me like that's the first line one is, some of you heard me talk about this, line one is information, right? We give something to someone, we fill their brains with some data, some facts. Training is when we teach. But education, the third word of principle 5, is the transformation. And that's the next layer to this very familiar quote we use. It's about engaging everyone in understanding the why and changing the systems. And so thank you for doing that and for engaging so many partners in the work. It's fun to do.
We're trying. And the thing is, once they get the education, you want them to appreciate that, but they do want to share with others and give back to others. A lot of us get it, they take off, and now they find ways to see for themselves. So it's the whole idea. We got to think community at all times. But thank you all very much. Really appreciate it.